What Q You Know, the new show on FAQ Show. My name is Frankie.
And I'm Ryan from The Coffee Break.
Remember to subscribe to The Coffee Break that brings you all the juicy news every day from Monday to Friday.
So Frankie, I think I lost it last week. Huh?
Yeah, so for those who are new to the show, we have a new segment in What Q You Know, where we will look at the US economic calendar and try to predict what are the numbers going to be on those reports and try to predict the market reaction the following week.
Last week.
Victory on me, so that's 1-0. So what happened last week is that it is a packed week with a lot of economic report releases, right? Such as the consumer price index that reflects the US inflation. There's also the FOMC interest rate decision.
Yep.
So in terms of the CPI, I predicted that the number is going to come down from 0.3 to 0.2. And I was spot on. On a year-on-year basis, inflation also came down from 3.4% expected to 3.3%. As a result of that, market just shot up lah. And you also predicted something correctly, which is the FOMC decision.
Yep.
Right? So the Fed decided to hold the interest rate at the current level. The next time they are able to do this will be in the month of July, end of July. That will be their next meeting. If they miss that opportunity, the next meeting is going to be in September, which is 2 months away from July, which is very tricky because you are going closer to the US election. People may perceive it as a political move. So let's see how it goes. But later, towards the end of the show, we are going to predict again what's going to happen to the US market based on this week's economic data.
So let's start with the news of this week. I think over the past few months or so, there have been a lot of news on data centers. But are data centers really good, right? And what researchers are saying is that actually data centers could actually strain water and electricity supplies, right?
Electricity, I can understand because data center means you need a lot of servers and all that, which consumes a lot of electricity. But why water?
Because you need to cool those servers down. You need to cool the facilities down. TNB has already received applications for 11,000 megawatt of power, right, from all these data centers, and it's equivalent of 40% of Peninsular Malaysia's capacity of 27,000 megawatt.
So are we going to have a power crisis soon in Malaysia?
It depends if there's more solar power plants being built, which I think it's also some of the drivers behind these data centers needing to be green, needing to be sustainable, needing to be environmental friendly. So a lot of companies are also building data centers with the aim of having clean energy.
A lot of all these data centers will be located at either Selangor or Johor, right? I think particularly in Johor, especially after YTL Power partnered together with NVIDIA to say that they're going to set up their data centers over there.
Actually, YTL Power's play in data center actually started not just from this year, it actually started a few years ago. So if you look at, I think in 2022, the firm actually announced that it was, investing 1.5 billion, the first phase of the YTL Green Data Center Park in Johor. And C Limited was to become the anchor tenant at the Green Data Center Park, and this was back in 2022 itself, right? But of course, having a head start or having a name in the industry that attracted a lot of names, and I think Johor also, again, we are seeing a lot of developments happening in Johor this year, and we all know why, right? But just talk about data centers, right? They're asking for a lot of energy, right? 100 megawatt data center actually uses about 4.16 million of water per day.
Per day, you're talking about,
right? So that's equivalent of a daily water usage of about 10,000 people. If a city has 10,000 people, you use about 4.1, 4.2 million water per day. And you look at Selangor and Johor, right? There are always water cuts. With more and more data centers coming in, would there be also more water cuts? And if water cuts happen, what will happen to these data centers?
Right. So I think the next thing that the government needs to do is to look at the infrastructure again, right? To look at the electricity supply, to look at water supply, to see whether it is sufficient enough to support all these kind of new investments coming into Malaysia. But the other interesting thing that I noticed, right, especially this week itself, is that there are quite a number of land sale happening in Johor. And a lot of all this land sale has got to do with new data centers coming out. Just to give you an example, right? Ecoworld plans to sell a 123-acre industrial land in Iskandar, Johor, and they're selling the land to Microsoft Payments Sdn Bhd, which is a company that provides data center services for 402 million ringgit. So apart from that, last month, another company, Paragon Globe Berhad, also sold part of parcel of freehold land that it just acquired in the district of Blentong, Johor Bahru for 238.3 million ringgit to this company called Bridge Data Centers Malaysia, which primarily involved in the business of leasing premises to computer facilities and the provision of all these infrastructure services as well. Sunrise, also in Johor, they are planning to sell a piece of land worth 144.9 million ringgit cash for the development of a data center. Now, it did not disclose who is the buyer, but they identified it as a leading global data center industry player. So, what Q you know about all these data centers coming to Malaysia? Is it because Malaysia have very cheap electricity and water, so therefore it managed to attract all these data centers to come here? Or is there another unique selling proposition for them to come to Malaysia?
If you look at the country's position in, it's probably because of the FDI, the government's policies are quite welcoming of these foreign investors, right? We also have the infrastructure ready in a lot of sense, right? We have the roads ready, we have the electricity ready, and we think about how we are quite safe from natural disasters. So that's a huge attraction. And Singapore, I think one reason why it's also very, a lot of these centers are in Johor because of its proximity to Singapore. A lot of companies are headquartered in Singapore in this region, right? So if they have something that's near their offices, then they sort of can do field trips and all that. But of course, that's probably one of the small reasons, right? At the same time, the Johor government is not welcoming everyone with open arms. They will actually soon implement guidelines requiring these new data center operators to demonstrate efforts to use green energy to improve sustainability, including power and water efficiency, as a condition before they can build.
Whatever it is, right? I think if there's anything on the property sector, right, I think this time around the cycle is going to start from Johor. With all these new data centers coming in, it means that you need more human resources in the state. It may attract a lot of all these high-skilled workers to come to Johor. It may
I think yes, in the short term, because you need to construct the buildings, you need to operate the buildings. But in the long run, right, data centers don't use that many people because it's all on cloud.
That's true.
Think about it, right?
That's true.
Right, so all you need is just to clean the compound, make sure the data center runs, make sure there's engineers on site, operations can run smoothly. That's pretty much, it seems like it, right? But engineers can work remotely, control the data centers.
So at the end of the day, I think we are banking that these data centers ultimately will require all the supply chain or the value chain that comes together with it in order to uplift the economy in Johor State.
Yeah, because there's also a vacuum of talents, right? Like you can't just build data centers and have engineers in a span of 5 years. There's also a gap that the country needs to fill on top of just having data centers. Yeah, okay, great, but we need people. We need to have the talent. Otherwise, we want to import talent. It's going to be the same thing. They want to repatriate the income back. It's going to be the same thing. So we talk about data centers, right? Who do you think the users are? What queue do you know in this?
Okay, I think data centers ultimately is to power AI. We're talking about cloud computing, sending information to the servers, interpret the information and then sending back to the devices. So I think data centers will create a huge demand in the next, let's say, 5 to 10 years. And that is the reason why all these big major tech companies, they are looking for locations to set up all these facilities.
Yeah, okay, talk about AI, right? With also Apple being a very, very typical fashion.
Yeah, so Apple has been seen as falling back in terms of their AI developments, right? I mean, Google already have their Gemini, Microsoft have their OpenAI.
Yeah.
Apple didn't seem to have any development.
They have.
Oh.
Siri.
Siri, yeah. Okay. The new Apple Intelligence is going to change the entire game in the tech sector going forward.
It's also called AI lah.
It's also called AI. Right?
Very
Apple Intelligence.
Apple Intelligence, right? It'll be powering the latest devices operating on iOS 18, iPadOS 18, and macOS Sequoia.
What are the interesting features that you like about this new iOS 18?
I think some of the features are quite similar to shortcuts in Apple today. So if you know how to use shortcuts well, those features, some of it are there. But I think the outstanding ones would probably be like telling you, what I've seen at least so far is like if you have an Apple Watch, for example, you're exercising all the time. But are you progressing? You can't tell. Oh, okay, I've hit my rings, I've hit my calories, I've hit my beats per minute, whatever. But what I can tell in the health at least, so I'll tell you, okay, your personal best was, let's say on the scale of 5, your personal best was 10, right? But you are now doing 4. You can do better. You can keep on and then 3 months ago you were doing 3, but now you're doing 4. So I guess it's those kind of features that before this, someone actually needs to go down there and sit down and calculate, oh, what was my personal best and how did I do this round compared to my typical average. But now you have an AI to do it, so I think that's quite useful.
What I like about it is the new math note.
Is
the
it
new
on
math
iPad? Was it the calculator?
No, the one where you can scribble with your pencil the formula and then it can straight away tell you what is the answer of that calculation.
Okay.
So I thought that one is so powerful. So it is not just about calculating 1 + 1 = 2. You can give it a very complicated physics formula and it can solve it for you. Now, that makes me think, right? Perhaps in the future, people don't even need to learn too deep into physics anymore in SPM.
Yep.
Because they can just get the answer out from iPad. And that's the powerful thing about this Apple Intelligence. Apart from that, there's also this feature where it is called Memory Movie, if I'm not mistaken.
What does it do?
Let's say, for example, you go on a holiday. For sure, you're going to take a lot of pictures, right? And all these pictures will have similar locations, similar people with similar clothes and whatnot. Then you can actually trigger Apple to make a video out of those photos.
That's insane.
So going forward, perhaps we can even make a movie out of all the short clips that we take.
I think they do it now on their Photos app already. Like if you travel somewhere and you have a collection of photos, it would do a short reel for you without you asking. But I guess that feature would then just elevate the game even further. And I know they've also brought in a feature where you can remove unwanted things in your photos. That's something that Samsung has already done with S24 Ultra, right? So now Apple is upping their game in this sense. A few things that Apple announced, I recall one was the Passwords app. So now if you have an Apple device, a lot of passwords are saved on your device, but now they have a standalone app, no longer has to be in the settings.
What Q you know about what is the intention behind Apple making all these fantastic features, but only be featured in the latest iPhone 15 Pro?
It's all about the money, right? They know, I mean, the way people use phones these days, they don't change phones as often as they used to be.
People is getting a little bit fatigued with the new iPhone launches, right?
Yeah.
iPhone 13, iPhone 14, iPhone 15, they all look the same. There's not much change. The iOS features is also, yes, there's a little bit of improvement, but not drastic enough until people want to change their devices. I think until this time round, when they showcase the iOS 18, where it can only be available on iPhone 15 Pro, that means if you want to get all these fantastic features, you have to change your phone.
And you also have to change your Macs.
Yes.
If you're on Intel at least.
Yeah.
No, so Apple Silicon Macs, those M1s above, can use these AI power features. But I have an Intel one that I bought in 2020. So I need to upgrade, right? And I think that's a very good marketing ploy in a way. So I was also waiting to upgrade. I was contemplating between buying an M3 or an M2 Mac. But now it's okay, if M1 can buy, then can buy M1 Mac and use. No need to upgrade any further. But still, it requires an upgrade from an Intel machine.
I have a different view when it comes to Mac. I think what Apple is trying to do is to migrate people to not use laptop altogether,
right,
and move everything to iPad.
Yeah, but their OS doesn't jive. Because if you're in a Mac OS user, it's not seamless to go into an app like iPad OS. I think that's always been a struggle. You buy an iPad Pro, you buy an iPad, right? It cannot replace a MacBook.
It gradually becomes like that.
Hopefully.
Today, more and more apps are available on iPad.
Correct.
And iPad is becoming more and more powerful as well.
And that calculator app was not available on iPad until this
Until
release.
now.
And iPad has been around for a long time.
Yeah. So I think because of that, already reflected by the market that Apple share price is rallying like nobody's business. I think there's a chance that Apple may take the pole position again as the largest company in the world, overtaking Microsoft.
It's actually also in bed with Microsoft technically, because Microsoft owns a chunk of OpenAI, right? Because this Apple Intelligence partnership is actually with OpenAI. But what Q do you know about the privacy behind it?
Apple's business pays a lot of attention about user privacy. So like for example, they are partnering with OpenAI, right, to do all this LLM model and whatnot. So most of these generative AI processes will be done on the device.
Okay.
So it doesn't go anywhere else. But let's say for example, for those that are more complicated processes, then Apple will prompt you to say that, hey, I'm going to send this thing to OpenAI. Do you agree to send this over? And number two, do you agree that Apple AI will get hold of such information? If you click yes, then it goes over. Whether or not you want your information to flow out from the Apple ecosystem, that's up to you lah. They give you an option lah.
There are also a lot of naysayers. One guy doesn't like the partnership.
Who's that?
Only the most controversial guy on planet, which is Elon Musk. So Tesla CEO Elon Musk criticized the partnership and going as far as mocking Apple intelligence. He said that, should Apple move ahead with the ChatGPT integration, he will actually ban Apple devices from his company, calling them an unacceptable security violation and calls it creepy as well. And visitors would have to store their Apple devices in a Faraday cage, going as far as that,
Well, Apple already say that user privacy is utmost important to their business model. So I don't know why Elon Musk is making that kind of criticism. If he is not going to use Apple, then I wonder what brand of device he's going to use.
Maybe he'll launch his own mobile.
Knowing him, right?
Right, because he's got Starlink.
Yeah.
So you've got internet
He has
access.
the satellite, he got internet access,
Right.
He has all the high-tech technologies in place.
And UI UX in Tesla is not too bad either. So maybe he's up to something. And he's also got a AI outfit going on for him. Maybe that's why he's also criticizing this partnership, because Apple didn't choose Tesla or choose any of Musk's creation, right?
Now, it has come to my favorite segment of the show, which is to look at the US economic calendar and try to see where the market is going to go next week. So this week, there are quite a few important reports released as well. The first one would be the US retail sales, which is going to come out on Tuesday. Industrial production capacity utilization also coming out on the same day.
Frankie, what Q do you know about these indicators?
Industrial production basically means the products that is coming out from factories. If there are more products coming out from factories, means probably the economy is still doing very well. So therefore, perhaps it may drive the market up. Capacity utilization is all about how busy is a factory. If the utilization is high, it means factories are busy, so economy is doing well.
So people got jobs, there's demand for the goods, right?
Yes. Previously, the industrial production number is at negative 0.3%. In terms of capacity utilization, the previous number was 78.4%. So looking at past data in terms of industrial production, it has been going up and down the zero number. So in January, it's negative 0.8. And then in February, it went up by 0.8, and then subsequently fell down to negative 0.1. And now the market thinks that it's going to be at around negative 0.3 level. I think it's going to stay around there, like close to zero. So I don't think that report itself is able to trigger the market movement much.
Unless it's a big jump to the positive side lah. And usually this time of the year, there's not much activities going on.
I think more attention will be on US retail sales, because retail sales comes from people like you and me, and our spending pattern pretty much depends on the inflation number these days. So if inflation number is coming down, perhaps US retail sales might bump up a little bit. If it does, then I think the market is going to do well. But if it falls, it means a different thing. It means, number one, this last week we know that inflation is coming down. If retail sales falls, it means people start to tighten their belt.
That's why inflation went down lah.
Correct.
Because it goes hand in hand, right?
Correct. Then that could actually be a negative indicator to the market. In my opinion, if US retail data sales falls, it's quite bad for the market.
Because there's no confidence lah, in the sense. Spending power is lower, confidence is low as well. What do I think? I think you're probably right, man. If it goes down, it's gonna shake the market a little. I think retail sales will just maintain as it is. Not much movement, I would think so. Because we've seen like previous months, all this while, inflation was high. I think the numbers were also quite stable. Minimal growth in the 0.1, 0.2% probably.
Yep.
All right.
And it's also because there's no big holidays. Right?
Yep.
So,
usually like Christmas, then people will spend a bit more, I guess.
Correct. There's also another report that I think we all should pay attention to, which is the initial jobless claims that is going to come out on Thursday.
What would that tell us? That would just tell that for people to claim benefits, is it?
So in the US, if you're unemployed, you can actually go to claim some benefit from the government, and it will be recorded under this initial jobless claims number. If the number is high, it means that more people are losing jobs, so therefore they go and get this benefit from the government lah. But these days, right, bad is beautiful for the US market. I'm not sure if you noticed that or not.
Why?
So if economic data is bad, right, it means that the interest rate hike in the past is working. That's what the Fed wants. it gives them justification to say it's time to lower down the interest rate. It is quite tricky here. On one hand, we hope that initial jobless claims will be low because low number means everyone has a job, everyone is happy, economy is good, stock price will go up. But because we're in this tricky situation, right? If initial jobless claim is high, that means economy is no good. Perhaps it may trigger the Fed to think maybe in July I want to start the cut already. That's what I think about the market, but I'm not so sure. We will come back again next week to see who is right, who is wrong.
I think that's all for this week. Let's see who will win.
Yeah, right now it's 1-0.
Thanks for tuning in. And if you like us, remember to follow us on Spotify. You can find us on FAQ Show.
And don't forget to subscribe to The Coffee Break.
Subscribe with the link below. We'll see you next week. Take care.